Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Michelle Spears. I'm going to give you a word on tonight, and the title is going to be Setting Up the Tabernacle and the Glory of the Lord. Will appear over the tabernacle. So we're still doing Bible study, still doing details. Still going to come from Exodus chapter 40, verse 1 through 33. So now Moses had two tablets. Remember, he came down the mountain with two tablets. And God wants to have a place to store it. So the Lord said to Moses, set up the tabernacle, the tent of a meeting, on the first day of the first month. Moses is the place to all, of the covenant law in it, and share the all with the curtain, and then bring in the tabernacle, and bring in the table and set out what belongs, everything that belongs to the tabernacle. That's what God wants him to put in there. You know, so the covenant of the law, and put the curtain at the entrance. Now he wanted at the entrance, and now the all would be very important. It's gonna be very important, very gentle. Because during their traveling, during their journey, they're gonna have to. They're not in their lane now. This is for when they get into the lane. So they'll have to tote this while they're traveling. And God gonna have special people to hold it, to touch it. Everyone ain't gonna be able to touch it. So Moses will build this temple. He will build this tent to be placed in their land, of Canaan. Now Moses are still getting instruction from God. Now he gonna do this. He gonna do this temple. As God instructed him, give him a description. God is the one gonna guide him what to do and how to build this temple. Now to place the altar of burnt offering in front of the entrance of the tabernacle. Now God says to him to anoint oil, on the tabernacle. Once he finished, he had to anoint. And then, he gonna have Aaron and his two sons. They're gonna be the priests of the temple. So he gonna have them to get anointed too. So now anoint, and he wanted to anoint everything, the furniture, concentrated all, anoint everything that's supposed to be in this temple. So God is telling Moses to bring Aaron and bring his two sons. You're gonna anoint him, you're gonna have them to wash, because they have to be clean when they enter that to the altar. They're gonna have to wash their hands, with water and everything. God told him to make sure you anoint Aaron and his two sons, because they're going to be a priest. They're going to serve to the Lord. So now God told Moses to dress them. Dress them, and how the priests dress. So they're going to dress Aaron and his sons, the garment and anoint them and consecrate them, so they may serve God as a priest. So now Moses is to anoint Aaron and his sons to dress them in time. So that is anointing will be to a priesthood that will continue throughout their generation. So now Moses did everything God had instructed him to do, from all the details and everything. So Moses was careful to obey God, instruction. So in the smallest detail, because that's what I'm saying, a lot of time on our journey, it can be the smallest details that God wants us to get. So Moses did all the description, that God give him. So now the tabernacle was set up, on the first day of the month, the first month of the second year. So that was February. So now everything is set up. Moses placed everything in it, and he put the covering of the tabernacle as the law commanded him. So he took the tablet. Remember, he took two tablets of the covenant of the law. He placed them in an ark, attached the pole, to the ark, and put the anointment cover over it. So then Moses brought the ark into the tabernacle. A huge shedding curtains and shield, the ark of the covenant law as the law commanded him. So he set out the altar burnt offering in the front entrance. So he did everything that God commanded him to do. even from the small details. That he placed a basin between the tent as a meeting and the altar, put water in it and wash it. So Moses and Aaron and his son, use it to wash their hands, and their feet, before they enter the tabernacle. So Moses obeyed God's instruction, in the setting up in the altar of the tabernacle. To place the art in the two tablets. God told Moses how to build it. God told him how to build the tabernacle. Now Moses, job in order to do it. The physical care of the tabernacle is to require a long list of tasks, and each was important to the work of God's house. And so Moses finished the work. He finished the work. He obeyed God the whole time while he was doing it, getting the smallest details that God had wanted on this tabernacle. So now Moses finished the work. Everything that was set up. The cloud. That after he finished setting up everything, then a cloud, covered the tent of the meeting. In the glory of the Lord, filled the temple. So soon as Moses finished, the temple is holy now. When he finished, God glory, it just was all over. It filled up with God glory. So the tabernacle was God's home on earth. And he filled it with the glory, overpowering, sense of his presence. Almost 500 years, later, Solomon had built the temple. And it was beautiful. And God also gave him a description of how he wanted that temple built. And that was way bigger than what this temple here is. So it had replaced, the temple as a central place of worship. So God also filled the temple with his glory. But when the Israel had turned from God, and they're going to keep on doing that, they're going to turn from God, and then his glory going to depart from them. And that's how the temple going to get destroyed. Because see, once God's spirit relieved from you, everything going to get destroyed. You're going to have an army going to come against the Israelites. So the presence depart from the temple, and it was destroyed by the army. See, soon as God's spirit depart, here come the enemy. The enemy came and destroyed the temple. Destroyed some of the Israelites. Say all the traveler of the Israelite, whenever the cloud lifted, above the tabernacle, they were set out. They were set out. But when it did not, when the cloud did not lift it, they did not set out. Because if the cloud lifted, I mean they was protected, they could go out. When it did not lift it, that means God's spirit was not over there. There was the only small charge for them to stay in, to do not get set out. So the cloud of the law, was over the tabernacle, by day, and the fire, was in the cloud by night. So in the sight of all the Israelites, doing all their traveling, they're still on their journey. They're going to be on their journey until they conquer their land. So that's the story of the glory of the Lord. Now God helped Moses to build a tabernacle. God home on earth. And have someone have a place to store the the tablets. A place for the two tablets to be stored. So when Moses finished, when he had finished the tabernacle, it's a cloud, had covered the tent. The glory of the Lord had filled the temple. So when the cloud had lifted up, the Israel were able to set out. But when a cloud did not lift it up, they could not, get set out, because God's spirit was not with them, because they kept on sinning, they kept on doing all kind of wickedness. So God had kept on leaving them, so when the cloud lifted, that means God was over them, protecting them. They were able to go set out, But when the cloud did not lift it, that means for them to stay put. They stay inside, because you're not being protected. Just like the enemy had came to attack them when they realized God's spirit was not over them. That's when they destroyed the tabernacle and everything. So time they get to their land, they're gonna have to build another one. So That's all the story, of setting up the tabernacle and the glory of the law when the tabernacle was finished. Once it was finished, it had become to be holy. And then God's glory, has set all over the whole tabernacle. See, a lot of time when you sitting in church, and you really deep into, what they're preaching about. A lot of time, God's spirit will be all in that church. God's spirit was all over. Filled that whole tabernacle up. Filled it up. But then, the Israel sinned. When they had sinned, then God's spirit had lifted off of them. So when a cloud was lifted, God's spirit was all over that place, all over the Israelite. But once it didn't lift it up, that means God's spirit was not over them. That's how the enemy came and had attacked them. So we want to, keep God's spirit, with us at all times. Because without God's spirit, we nothing. We'll be destroyed like the Israelite was. So there was two stories, and God had Moses to start sitting at the table, like, to put the tablets in and also have a place for them to worship. And all the story was after he finished the tabernacle, the glory of the Lord had covered the tabernacle. God's spirit just all over, until the Israelite had sinned, and then God's spirit had departed from the tabernacle. So that's all the word I have for you on today. Y'all have a blessed night. Be safe, and I see y'all on the next video.